Hi everyone, this is Ricky with Bromero Cards, and I'm here to share a card I made using a stamp set I purchased from craftgalley.com. Please see the link in the notes for items used in this video. Thank you for watching, and let's get started. Today's card is going to be used making the Altenew Hello Sunshine stamp set. The stamp set's pretty great. It has a lot of florals on it that can be Copic colored or watercolored. We're also going to be using some black cardstock cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and some white cardstock cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 as well. You'll also need some extra black cardstock for the sentiment we're going to use today. We're going to use some Versamark ink for some heat embossing and also Lawn Fawn Jet Black for Copic coloring. We're going to be using Zig Clean markers for our coloring today. And we'll also be using the EK Success tool with a coffee filter so that we could do our heat embossing as well with some white embossing powder. We're also going to be using several acrylic blocks so that we could stamp our sentiment and some little embellishments onto the card. And we're also going to use some 3M foam tape. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and stamp out the images first. We're actually going to use this white cardstock that's cut at 4 inches by 5 1/4. I'm sorry, I gave you the wrong dimensions earlier in the video to show you what we were using. So right now I'm just arranging the paper so that all the stamps look even on the paper. And then once I get that set up, I'm going to stick the magnets on the paper so it doesn't get lifted up once we start doing our stamping. Now we're going to use the Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I know earlier I said it's safe for Copic coloring, which it is, but we're actually not doing Copic coloring in this video. We're going to be using some Zig watercolor brushes, which it worked fine for, so we're okay with that. So I didn't get a good first impression, so the reason we have our MISTI is so that we could actually do a second impression in the exact same spot, which is amazing. And then it really wasn't good the second time either, so we're going to go ahead and do a third one. And then once we get this third one done, we are going to add a few embellishments to the card by using some of the stars that are located in the stamp set. And I just grabbed 2 acrylic blocks and attached the 3 stamps, one to this bigger block, and then the other 2 small ones are on each side of the smaller block. And we're just going to add that throughout the card just to add a little, to take up more space. We didn't want all that white space in our card. And then what I do is just turn around and add a few more small ones and fill that up. Nothing too hard, it's pretty easy. This card is going to be mainly black and white except for one colored image, so you just want to make sure that you fill up all of the areas that really need a stamp on it. And then we're going to be finished with that, and then we're going to get started with the coloring after I clean off my stamps here. I use a Lawn Fawn chamois for that. It's an amazing tool. You should really invest in that. It's really nice. Then we're going to use some real clean brush markers. There's several green markers here. I did not write the colors down, but I did show you. So we're going to use the lightest marker first, and we're kind of just going to do this like Copic coloring. We're going to apply the lightest color down first, then we'll do the medium shade, and then we'll do the dark shade. And with the medium shade here, I kind of just go halfway up. I'm kind of doing like a stroke method, not really coloring in the full leaf, but just doing a few strokes. And then here, you'll see me use the darker green, make it a little darker towards the bottom, and I'll go along the line in the middle of the leaf as well to just add a little color dimension to these leaves. And then in the original card, I actually did a flower that is pink, but I decided to switch it up and do a blue card, or I'm sorry, a blue flower for this card. So we're just going to use various blues as well. I'm showing those to you here. And the same thing, we're going to start out with the lightest color. I'm kind of doing like a short stroke on each side just to get some color onto the flower. And then I'll go in with the medium color, and I will not take it all the way up to the top of the flower petal, but maybe a little halfway. And the same with the strokes. And actually I add a little bit of blue along the top of this card, so it makes it look like that the middle of the petals are a little lighter than the outside edges. This is the dark blue. I believe it's more like a blue-green, but I'm going to apply that, and then I'm just going to take the lightest color again and then apply a little more color to this as well. And in the original version of the flower, which you're going to see the still probably as the photo for this video, you're going to see some white dots on the flower. I actually took my Uniball Signo white pen and added little dots onto the flower. And then here we're going to use the Spectrum Noir glitter brush pen to add a little sparkle to the flower, and you'll see that here in a second. Once I hold it up, there is some sparkle onto this. It's nice to add a little bit of bling bling to a card every now and then. I often forget to use this pen, but I had it out on my desk for some reason and I thought I would use it. So there you can see it's a little sparkly. Now we're going to do the sentiment. I'm using the EK Success brush tool to take the static off the paper. And we're going to use the sentiment says, "You make my world brighter." We're just going to use the Versamark ink here, and we're going to stamp this down. And we're going to bring the coffee filter over and just pour some white embossing powder over this. This is some fine embossing powder, it's great for smaller sentiments. And then we're just going to heat emboss this to make it look shiny and raise up a little bit. Make sure that your heat gun's pretty hot when you do this. So then we're gonna cut the sentiment out, and then we are gonna add some, I don't know what these are called. They're banner tails, I guess, or dovetails. I'm not for sure what they're technically called, but we're gonna put some notches in this, and we're gonna use this as the sentiment. So after I get the notches cut out, we are going to add some 3M foam tape onto the back of this sentiment. And I just need to cut it a little bit because the tape is a little too thick for the sentiment. And then anything left over, always just add it to your roll because you can reuse it for another card. I do that all the time. This 3M foam tape can be expensive, so I want to use every bit that I can. So now we're going to add the foam tape to the back of the card or the piece that we colored. And we're just going to add this to all four corners or all four sides, and then one in the middle as well. I'm just cutting off a little extra piece here that was hanging over the card that we needed to take off. So we'll go ahead and remove the adhesive paper on this. I'm lining it up just to make sure everything lines up. And we're going to stick this to the card. You don't always have to remove the center piece. If this was watercolor paper, I would probably remove it because the paper buckles pretty bad with watercoloring. And then we're just going to add the sentiment here. I'm going to make sure it's straight and then press it down. And then use the pen. Oh, I did show you guys the pen. Oh no, I was making a correction onto the card. Anytime that you do some coloring and you make a mistake, it goes outside the line, you could use that pen to cover up your mistake if it's pretty small. We're going to add some liquid adhesive here, and we're going to connect this to the card base, and this is going to be the completed card for the day. I hope you have a great day. Thank you for subscribing. Please tell your friends and subscribe to the channel and like all the videos. I really enjoy making these videos for you guys, and I'm going to pull in some other cards that I made using this stamp set as well. One of these cards, you'll see the white dots on the pink flowers. So thank you for joining me today. Have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.